Well, it's Friday and another Rebel Roundup. And I wore my Free Tamara shirt because, I'm in such a treat today, joined with two Tamaras with Rebel News. So I thought I might as well do that. I'm Drea Humphrey. David Menzies is probably out on some mission. And co hosting with me today is the lovely Tamara Ugolini. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. So happy to be here with Tamara Squared, and I love that shirt, Drea.
Yeah, I figure that. And Tamara Lich, you're not quite free. You're freer than
No,
you've been before, but and thank God you get to work, so that's great. So I don't know how long I'll
absolutely.
get to wear this shirt, but how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I was just going to say one of us, one Tamara's been arrested, and one of them almost got arrested. So that shirt
That
could apply to the both of us.
I have been arrested. I was held in jail for the crime of walking my beach shoreline in July of 2020. I was like one of the earliest
Oh,
arrestees of the COVID era. Yeah, it was
before we
wow.
wild. Yeah,
snatched her up real quick.
that's
And you
right.
were so well spoken. I mean, this was before my time or just around the same time, but I saw that video many times and you were just born to be on Rebel.
Thank you.
Um
The police were unreal in that interaction, by the way. You can dig up the old clip of that. And people always come for us, just before we get into the actual show. I just want to clear the air because people always come and they say, "Oh, well, you're just a provocateur." And no, I didn't work for Rebel then. I was just a mom on a beach concerned about what was happening with the closure of all of these outdoor spaces that went above and beyond the already harshly imposed provincial restrictions. And
Mhm.
I was one of Rebel News's first fight the fines cases because my husband and I had lost everything, our business, our jobs, our livelihoods throughout the lockdowns and the shutdowns and the closures. And then I thought, there's nothing left to lose anymore. I might as well just go engage in some good old fashioned civil disobedience. And there I was with my toes in the sand,
Mm.
getting some refreshing water washing over them, and I was arrested and I was detained and held in jail. And they tried to charge me criminally. In fact, I don't even have so much as a speeding ticket on my record. And there I was,
Wow.
just this mom on the beach being charged criminally for walking my local beach shoreline. Like the cornerstone of my childhood was that beach. And still to this day, the town of Coburg did not even have jurisdiction to close and restrict access to that property, especially the shore itself, which is technically Crown land. And a shore is a fluid moving thing governed by what are called riparian rights. So the whole thing is a lot of legal gray area, but ridiculous COVID times back in the summer of 2020. So there I was. And that's how I became a rebel. And I'm so thrilled and happy to be here on the show today. Um,
yeah.
so, for those of you at home who are watching us, you can support our work in this kind of journalism and the scooping up of regular old Canadians who are just tired of the tyranny of the government by giving us a super chat. Or if you're watching the show after the fact, you can give us a super thanks on YouTube specifically. And then if you are watching us over on Rumble, which, by the way, continued to air and allow us to publish all of our COVID dissident views throughout that time of harsh censorship that kind of still persists in some areas today, especially if you talk about, big pharma and some of the happenings there. They will still censor you. But anyway, if you do join us over on Rumble, you can give us a Rumble rant. And so through a small monetary donation, $5 or more if you can. We will then read your comment or your tip or whatever you have to share with us. Or for a more broad audience, we'll read that live on air. So we always really appreciate your support. And it's a fun way for our audience to engage with us directly and get some feedback or just have something fun read on air. So thanks in advance for your support that way. We do have, like we mentioned, Tamara Lich here to talk about one of our headliners. So we have a couple headliners in the show today. Alberta Chiefs give some independence threats. We'll get to that with Tamara because I think she'll have some great things to say about it. Of course, the British Columbia Conservatives got a new leader. So Drea was hot on that file. And the police in Toronto prepare for the decaying city to host the World Cup. So we're going to talk about all of that. And I think we should probably lead the show with this First Nations chiefs saying that they're going to engage in civil disobedience, and not the kind that just means a mom walks the shoreline at a closed beach, but they're going to actually shut down some infrastructure, as far as I can tell by this threat. Of course, National News Watch doesn't frame it that way, but it sounds pretty threatening to me. So the headline or the lead reads that the treaty chiefs representing First Nations across the West say they are willing to carry out acts of civil disobedience if necessary to fight Alberta Premier Danielle Smith's separation vote. And Treaty 8 Grand Chief Trevor Mercredi has renewed a call for Smith to put a stop to an upcoming referendum on it. I mean, that sounds like interference with democracy, if you ask me. Tamara, what do you think?
Well, I wholeheartedly agree. I think this referendum is simply an exercise in democracy, and there seems to be a lot of people that are opposed to exercising democracy. But look at this is Canada, so here we are. I just want you guys to imagine for 1 second if I went online and said if I didn't get my way, I was going to block a highway.
Mhm.
I would be, the cops would be at my door and I would be being flown back to Ottawa again. We definitely cannot make these kind of threats, especially over a question. It's literally over a question. Now, that's mischief. I was charged with mischief. I was charged with counseling others to commit the offense of mischief. And I also had a couple of intimidation charges that I was put on. But to me, this sounds like threats of mischief or premeditated mischief, if you will, or counseling others to commit mischief. It's not civil disobedience. And as we were talking just before we started, Alberta actually in June or July of 2020 implemented what's called the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act to prevent blockades like this chief in particular is suggesting. So I'll just read a little bit of it here, if that's okay. It's what is the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act? The statute was widely seen as the Alberta government's response to Indigenous-led blockades, which sounds like this could potentially be what it is, that sprung up across the country that year in solidarity with the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs fighting the Coastal GasLink pipeline. The Act uses broad language to prohibit willfully entering, damaging, obstructing, interrupting, or interfering with critical infrastructure, which is defined under the Act as including highways, railways, oil sands sites, or mines, and more. The law also extends to the land on which essential infrastructure is located and any land used in connection with the essential infrastructure. So to me, it very much sounds like this chief is threatening this infrastructure and curious if he's going to get a phone call or a visit from the local police to explain the Critical Infrastructure Act to him.
Right. And I guess we didn't quite get that far in the article either, because it does say further on in here that he says that First Nations have not given consent and will stop this referendum in any way that they can, including getting in the way of industry or, in his words, getting out on the highway. And yes, so for that threat, I guess, there will be probably no recourse, just as you faced, Tamara, for the last, I mean, you're still dealing with the fallout of participating in the Freedom Convoy, which didn't actually block any sort of infrastructure or highways. There was always a lane open for emergency services and otherwise to navigate and get around. This is a call for a full blockade. We've seen it before. It happens all the time when it comes to First Nations protests. That's their first line of defense is to hit the highways and block off access.
Well, and I think another concerning thing is that he's claiming to represent all of the First Nations, but he's not representing all of the First Nations. And I've brought this up on the show before. I am a Métis. I'm a member of the Alberta Métis Association, and these leaders that are speaking on our behalf. I'm here to tell you, I've never seen a single email from my association asking me my thoughts on the referendum, asking me to attend an informational town hall about the referendum. You know, the leaders of some of these First Nations are just standing up there claiming to speak for everyone when they clearly don't. As we saw even with the petition signers, there's a large number of canvassers that regularly had First Nations people coming to sign the petition.
Yeah, and this comes because basically this chief in particular says that the First Nations, there's a duty to consult, and that they weren't consulted on this potential separation vote, right? We're not talking about Alberta actually separating just yet. It's just a vote to see if that's what the people of Alberta want, if that's truly what the majority wants. And so that judge ruled that that the referendum was, I forget the exact, unlawful, or didn't conduct that duty to consult. But as Danielle Smith said, that was a potential error in law, because this is, again, this is just a vote. I mean, people are really getting their panties in a bunch about a vote. There's no structural changes. There's nothing being enacted immediately. Like, this is literally just a vote to see if that discussion and a referendum on separation should go forward.
Right. And that's
it's a vote on a vote.
That's democracy. It's a non-binding referendum. And this whole duty to consult comes from the UNDRIP agenda that we are seeing across Canada, especially in British Columbia. I don't know what percentage First Nation people represent in Alberta. In British Columbia, it's around 5%. I would imagine it's the same, or maybe lesser in Alberta. But to piggyback on what Tamara Lich said, they're not representing all First Nations, and they're certainly not representing all Albertans in this situation. And that's where this whole issue of duty to consult, why would a group of banned governments be able to have so much more sort of say, some call it a veto, over important decisions that impact everyone? And that's the issue we see all the time in British Columbia as well.
Yeah, exactly. Just stopping people from going forward to have a vote. There's no mandatory duty to consult on that. And plus, also, again, to reiterate what the other Tamara too said, that this chief doesn't speak for all First Nations. So this is just a ridiculous exercise of power, if you ask me. And we do have a video clip here to share, that they are threatening to block critical infrastructure.
In the letter, you're demanding that the Alberta government stop going down this path. I'm wondering what the or else is. What happens if they don't? I know that you mentioned legal avenues. Is that it? Are there other plans? And when it comes to those legal avenues specifically, what are you talking about there?
Well, you know, there's many tactics that we can use. There's many areas that we can intervene. Industries in our territories, you know, the resources belong to our nations. How does Alberta expect to move forward as they say, sovereign, when all of the resources and lands belong to the treaty people? The treaties extend beyond Alberta's borders, and for that reason, it's a real issue, because it inhibits our rights. So when we say that you know, we'll take a look at all avenues, that means stopping industry. That means maybe going out on the highways. That maybe means doing what we need to do to be heard in this on this issue of separation.
I'm curious too if you can provide maybe a bit more of a concrete example of what the or else is. I mean, you talked about how industry operates on your treaty land. You said, you know, we might hit the highways. What does that protest look like if the province of Alberta moves forward?
I mean, anyway, we've seen it before. We know what it looks like.
Exactly.
They've done it multiple times over multiple years, dating back decades. It's funny to me how the people crying about colonization all of a sudden like love the colonizers.
Okay. I have said that before too. Yeah. We have a certain group of people that, you know, for a lot of a big portion of the last few years has stood up and said they're not a part of Canada and they don't have to answer. And all of a sudden, you know, they're throwing it all in to make sure that they stay in Canada. Now, a couple of things jumped out at me about that clip. Number one, what rights is it inhibiting having a referendum? How are their rights being affected? And number two, he's saying right in that clip that he wants to be heard. Okay, well, that's fine that you want to be heard, but why does your voice matter more than the rest of the Albertans' voices? I mean, it's not a democracy when you're being held hostage by 3% of your population, and not even 3% of your population, maybe 3% of that 3% of the population.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And if you're so concerned, well, put it to a vote. Let's vote on it then.
Exactly.
Don't go blocking roadways and infrastructure and targeting industry. There's clear laws in place to prevent all of that. And but sounds like the likes of Tamara Lich are the ones who face the consequences because it's politically embarrassing for the government of the day. Whereas, you know, obviously the Liberals are loving every minute of this because finally they can win back some of the negative press they've received over the years for being these genocidal colonizers. I mean, this is absurd.
And of course, it does nothing for reconciliation, which is the banner that all of this behavior has been excused under. I would say reconciliation has been worse than it ever has, much like how Black Lives Matter made racism come back from life support, things like that, because people get frustrated when things are not fair. And so I know I get emails from band members who are like, thank you for the coverage that you're doing. We're so sick of this. We just want the truth out like you guys. Like, it's embarrassing when you have people making threats on your behalf over a simple democratic discussion.
Yeah. And speaking of the separatist move. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to quickly add to that, and on top of that, look into the funding that some of these chiefs are receiving and where it's coming from, and that alone tells quite a big tale.
Ding, 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 ding. That's why they love the colonizers all of a sudden.
Right. What effect would this have on all of those subsidies and funds that have really no checks or balances in place to oversee where this money is going? And, you know, Drea, I love the term that you've coined, the reconciliation overreach, and the massive industry and funding that has now become entrenched in that. I think that they feel threatened that separation, I mean, I don't know, but could have an impact. And they see their bottom line dwindling away because of it. Perhaps, I don't know, because it's just all still in a voting stage. There's a lot of things left still unknown, but we won't know unless we have a vote on it. So can we just get to the vote already? I mean, this is insane. But of course, the NDP are now standing alongside the colonizers. And to be clear, like I don't really typically associate with that kind of language and colonizers or decolonizers or whatever. But I'm just kind of using that rhetoric back at these people who now all of a sudden are clinging to the things that they've condemned for so many years as being genocidal, you know, settler colonialist. And you have NDP from Strathcona in Alberta. What's her riding? Edmonton, Strathcona.
Oh, geez.
Heather McPherson coming out and basically denouncing everything that I guess Danielle Smith is doing and the separatist movement.
Well, as an Albertan member of Parliament, as one of the only progressive Alberta members of Parliament, I believe that every single politician in this country should be able to say clearly and unequivocally that they believe in a Canada that includes Alberta, that includes Quebec, that our country is stronger when Alberta and Quebec are part of our country. I think what Danielle Smith is doing in Alberta is weaponizing and giving fuel to a separatist movement that is giving legitimacy where I don't think that's a good idea. You know, I think this referendum question that Danielle Smith is bringing forward is a problem. It's a mistake. It's a premier that is trying to distract from her her failures on the economy, her failures to protect our public health care system, and our failures to ensure that children in the province of Alberta can attend school and get a good education and a good public system. Now, I will also say that the federal government has an obligation. There are legitimate concerns in Alberta. There are legitimate concerns for many regions across this country. But if we, if the federal government doesn't step up to protect those institutions that are federal, like the Canada Health Act, like the Canada Pension Plan, like rights for workers, that argument is much more difficult to make.
Unbelievable.
So, she says in there that that a whole Canada includes Alberta and includes Quebec. Well, for how many years has it not included Alberta, right? How many years has Alberta spent just being sidelined by the likes of Ottawa, the Laurentian elites, and Eastern liberal stranglehold Canada? I think that this referendum has really been able to shine a light on the fact that Alberta has been ignored and sidelined for decades. And the fact that you have an NDP, Heather McPherson, standing up there and acknowledging finally that, yes, there are problems and there are, as she called it, legitimate concerns. The fact that, we can't unleash our massive reserves of natural resources to get ourselves out of the economic mess that the Liberals have put us into after 11 years of ruin. That has finally been able to come to the forefront of these discussions rather than just being ignored and pushed to the side. So I would say if there's any good that's come out of this so far, and that is, looking toward there being that actual vote, I think that is a good sign that finally Alberta is being recognized and acknowledged for the way that they've been treated by Ottawa the last few decades, or even perhaps longer than that. But I mean, in my lifetime anyway. But this fear-mongering nonsense is somehow like Alberta separation is going to mean that kids don't get educated anymore. I mean, Tamara, you saw that at the Kenny versus Wilson debate, right? Where like all of the arguments just hinge on these nonsense fear-based tactics.
100%. And the entire room groaned when former Premier Kenny said, well, the day after the referendum, you're going to have your passport seized and all the airports are going to close. I mean, really? I mean, the thing that strikes me the most, first of all, nobody cares what Heather has to say, in my opinion. Very few people anyhow. And second of all, how far away from a democracy, actually being a real and true democracy, have we strayed when all these organizations, the NDP, Heather McPherson, the First Nations chiefs, are threatened by exercising democracy? This is a vote. This is a vote to let Albertans decide on their own future. And that's threatening to these people. We haven't even got to the part where we're going to actually have the question yet. We're just talking about asking a question about asking a question. And we've got the First Nations standing up, or the chiefs saying they, could potentially be committing mischief as far as I'm concerned. And then this lady, it's not threatening. Albertans get to have a voice. We should be able to have this referendum without these jabs and the fear mongering, because that's exactly what it is, like you said. How far have we strayed this country when exercising democracy is considered threatening?
Yeah, exactly. Just having a vote is considered like somehow voting is now a threat to democracy.
Yeah.
The doublespeak of these people is astounding once you recognize and realize what to look out for.
We have a little insight into how many people are considering this with the National Post article, according to a Post Media and Leger poll. The title of that article, we should quickly talk about, says fewer than half of Albertans say they would stay in a newly independent province. Now, I have a bit of a bone to pick with that title. And once I read this, you guys will too. So in the second paragraph, it says, according to the survey, done between May 29th and June 1st, 39%. So fewer than half is such a weird way to say it. 39% of the respondents said they would continue to live in my new independent country. In the case of separation, while 38% said they would move elsewhere in Canada. 19% said they weren't sure, so they need more time. Again, the discussions of what's happening here. And the remaining 2% said they would move to another country altogether. So that title makes it look like the majority is getting out of here, when really it's like 2% saying I'm getting out of here for sure. And we'll see if that actually happens when they look at the cost of living everywhere else. It's like, will they actually go?
Yes.
And when you see what that would look like. So I'm not promoting one way or the other, but the discussion should be had based on this poll.
Yeah, let's just vote on it. Just have a vote. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to,
and a lot of that is, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please finish the thought.
I was just going to say, you know, a lot of that is really just empty threats and just talking. Look at how many people said that they were going, the celebrities in the United States that were all threatening to leave if President Trump was elected, and they were going to come to Canada, or there was droves of them. And I mean, it's just really tough talk, really.
All right, we have a couple super chats, then we'll go to a quick ad break. Lyle Norman 3787 has become a Rebel News Plus member. Thank you so much for your membership, and welcome to the stream. Welcome aboard. Snowy Roof gives $5. Thanks so much. Mitch Sylvester went to Ponoka after inviting 9 First Nations chiefs for a chat. Result, none of them showed up.
Showed up.
There you go. Okay, let's go to a quick ad break, and then we'll come back to chat about what happened in British Columbia.
For generations, many Canadians have preserved more than just firearms. They've preserved history, tradition, competition, memories. But under Trudeau, and now Carney, heirlooms, estates, collectibles, and competition firearms now have to be surrendered and destroyed. While violent gun criminals get pass after pass, openly ignoring any legislation, lawful gun owners are trapped in an increasingly unfair legal system. But we can help. Canada's National Firearms Association's Save Firearms program offers the legal pathway to preserve what matters, while we work towards a political solution. Don't let yours be next. Save history. Save heritage. Save firearms. Visit nfa.ca today to learn more.
Canada's been told to just quit smoking for decades, same message over and over, and yet millions of Canadians still smoke. So let's ask a follow-up question. For those who don't quit, what about change? In 2026, Canada has options that didn't exist years ago. Smoke-free alternatives for adults who would otherwise continue smoking. That doesn't mean risk-free, it means informed choice. If you don't smoke, don't start. If you smoke, quit. But for those who don't quit, change could still be part of the conversation. That's why Canadians should check out unsmoke.ca, an information resource focused on smoke-free alternatives and honest facts, not judgment. Put the lighter down, Canada. Learn what your options are.
In Canada, firearms owners like me understand the importance of safe, effective self-defense options. That's why we're proud to have Byrna as a sponsor. Byrna's less lethal launchers are designed to help protect you and your family without taking a life. Byrna offers peace of mind, accessibility, and a practical layer of personal security for Canadians who value safety. Learn more at byrna.ca/rebel. That's byrna.ca/rebel.
We have a limited store drop for you featuring Tim Hortons merchandise. If you want to sport some sassy swag out in the wild, head on over to rebelnewsstore.com and check out what we have to offer there. You can also use the QR code to save a certain percentage off of your total purchase, so don't miss that discounted offer. Limited time only, so get it while you can at the rebelnewsstore.com.
All right, before we continue on to our British Columbia specific chat, we're just going to say bye to Tamara Lich. Thanks so much for joining us for the first segment of the show to chat about the ridiculous threatening of blockading highways and infrastructure and industry by the First Nations chief who just don't even want to have a vote on separation. Absolutely absurd, but always great to have you on, Tamara. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, ladies. You bet. Have a great day. Thanks.
Have a good weekend. All right, Drea, do you want to lead us into this next segment as the BC correspondent?
Want to and need to are different things. Never a dull day in BC politics. Like it's just crazy out here. So as many know, Carrie Lynn Finlay is the new leader of the BC Conservatives, and the establishment has lost their mind. In fact, I have a report coming out about that maybe today or tomorrow. They're going mad. They're calling her Maple MAGA. They're just terrified that a conservative actually became the leader of the Conservative Party. How ironic. But followed by that, I should preface this next story with the fact that KLF, which is just easier to say, she was backed by the most MLAs. She had the most MLAs in the Conservative caucus saying this is who we want to support. And she had 2 out of the 6 formerly BC Conservative MLAs back her. One of those MLAs was Jordan Keeley. Now, he's a familiar face on Rebel News. We've interviewed him many times. And the news dropped. It was expected, too, by the way, that he would, go back into the BC Conservative Party. He even said in an interview I did with him recently that he would only go back if it was Carrie Lynn Finlay. And so then we got this news here, which was shocking. And if we click on that, it says BC MLA facing criminal sex assault charges. And those assault charges are against Jordan Keeley, MLA Jordan Keeley for Peace River North. So that bomb dropped and the news circulated. Global was first to put that news out. And then we had the BC Prosecution Service go ahead and confirm that story, and they released yesterday saying that they have announced that a special prosecutor was appointed following investigation being conducted by the North District Prince George RCMP. And so they have the letter there. So that's what's happened. I, of course, reached out to Keeley, and I have a statement from him that I'm just pulling up here. And his statement is pretty similar to what he's saying to all media right now. It's brief. He says, I am innocent of the accusation against me and will prove that in court. In the meantime, it will be business as usual, advocating for my constituents and region. So crazy time for the BC Conservatives. The report from Global News says that Keeley said it's a previous family friend who's making the claims. Again, this doesn't look like he's going to be going back to the BC Conservatives. And Carrie Lynn Finlay certainly dodged a bullet by this coming out after her win, as before, but that hasn't stopped the NDP from still making this all about her anyways. I mean, it's almost like they're relishing in it. So we have a tweet that you can pull up from, I put it up earlier there, Jennifer Whiteside, but basically she was quick to point out with the video, if you find it, of him endorsing Carrie Lynn Finlay, saying this is outrageous, calling on Finlay to go ahead and ask him to resign. Well, he's not in her caucus. So technically, why would she have to do that any more than, let's say, David Eby? And then she went as far as claiming that Finlay had removed that video that you just had on the screen, saying, hey, oh, look, she's trying to cover it up kind of thing. And Keeley did respond to that and said, no, actually, I had filmed in an area that you're not supposed to film in, I guess, at the legislature, and he wasn't aware, so he was asked to take it down. So anyways, what do you make of that madness, Tamara?
Yeah, what's happening in British Columbia is it's always just like on to the next crazy thing that's going to happen. You get this win, like Carrie Lynn Finlay is a true grassroots conservative win in British Columbia, which remind me again how many years, decades it's been that British Columbia hasn't had a conservative government. 20?
Well, it's been,
Over?
they say like a century, because it used to be the Social Credit
Oh, more
Party
than that.
kind of thing like that. And so the Conservative Party basically wasn't running a real slate of candidates for many, many years. It's my understanding. It's well before my time, let's put it that way. And then it
Right.
got revived, just a couple of years. I would say 2022 is when some young conservatives sort of took over the board and made big moves happening. Some of those is Angelo Isidoro, Aaron Gunn, who's now an MP, was definitely a driving force, and some other grassroots people. And then now here we are.
Well, I'm not sure if it's my internet or Drea's that's cutting out there from the stream.
In 2024, that party. And then now it gets, John Rustad has a lot of flack for how he led after being the province has seen. I think Tamara's frozen. I'm not frozen. Is Tara Armstrong, just to kind of give the other side to what Whiteside is saying. Is the only MLA who's come out in defense of some sort of Jordan Keeley. And so she is one of the 6 independent MLAs. I'm trying to find that tweet that I shared earlier. Here it is. She says, Jordan Keeley is honest, principled, and kind. He's entitled to the presumption of innocence, a cornerstone of Western society over 2,000 years. Shame on Jennifer Whiteside and the other jackals within the NDP caucus for leaping to conclusions for selfish political reasons. So definitely a tough spot to be in. As a journalist, it's tough too. Sometimes we get these types of stories and there's just no way for us to know who's telling the truth. And so may the truth prevail. But might I remind you of the major hit the BC Conservatives have had. This is 6 different MLAs who are already out there. And the 6th one to leave was also caught in a situation like this. That is MLA Han Chan, who was formerly with the BC Conservatives. And he was asked to leave that caucus because he has assault charges for allegedly choking someone on him. So it's kind of a mess. And I'm not surprised the NDP is taking some stabs at it.
Yeah, I think they feel exceptionally threatened at this point after, having a stronghold in British Columbia for so many years. And they see really the conservative uprising. And I think, John Rustad and all the things that happened with that party and its demise, and now like the reinvigoration of the British Columbia Conservatives not long after under Carrie-Lynne Finlay, who again, I think is like a true blue grassroots leader. And I think a lot of people were surprised to see her just even narrowly win that leadership race. And I think a lot of people in British Columbia appreciate your reporting, Drea, and are going to appreciate this follow-up report that you have about kind of breaking down how that night went and all the ins and outs of Carrie-Lynne Finlay's win. Okay, let's... Oh, I think Drea's internet connection is kind of in and out. So
it really does show, is that
I can hear coming in and out, but anyway, we'll try to move on here. Let's go to a quick ad break, see if we can sort out the connection issues. As always, we are painfully live sometimes. Let's go to a quick ad break and then we will come back to wrap up the stream.
Do you have pride fatigue? Are you exhausted by the thought of another pride season force-feeding rainbows down our throats like it's mandatory? If so, I'm Lise Merle from Rebel News, and I'd like you to meet Buck the Rainbow Unicorn, my 3-time Amazon best-selling children's book that stormed to the #1 spot on Amazon's global hot new releases in the wild 2 weeks before Christmas. And I'm just wondering, would it be possible to keep him trotting up the charts? You see, Buck is convinced that he's a rainbow unicorn. From his lustrous mane and sparkling feet, he's a full drama queen. Until one day, a wise little girl and his family gently break it to him that he's actually not a rainbow unicorn, but a perfectly healthy horse. The reviews for Buck the Rainbow Unicorn are unreal. This is a must-read for all children. Well done. A wonderful take on a currently twisted topic in today's society, and a refreshing message for kids. A heartwarming, laugh-out-loud rhyming story about honesty, imagination, and self-acceptance. This Pride season, skip the fetish parades and instead share the gift of truth, love, and prairie pride. Visit bucktherainbowunicorn.com to order your copy today. Thanks.
Each year, independent journalists break the stories that matter most. They expose corruption, challenge powerful institutions, and report the stories legacy media too often ignore. Now it's time to recognize that work. I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. I'm the president of the Independent Press Gallery, and I'm inviting you to join us for the IPG Awards Luncheon on Sunday, August 30th, 2026, for an afternoon celebrating excellence in independent journalism from around the world. Held as part of the Democracy Fund's Student Journalism Conference, the IPG Awards shine a spotlight on fearless reporting in video, written, and investigative journalism. This isn't about giant, well-funded, taxpayer-subsidized corporate newsrooms. It's about the freelancers filing stories from their kitchen tables at midnight, the documentary filmmakers chasing truth with no safety net, the independent reporters keeping democracy alive one story at a time. And this year, there's more than just recognition on the line. Each category features cash prizes, including $1,000 for first place and $500 for second place. Submissions are open now, but the deadline to enter is May 25th. So don't wait until the last minute panic and coffee-fueled regret kicks in. If you're an independent journalist, editor, filmmaker, publisher, student journalist, or simply someone who believes in press freedom, this event is for you. The IPG Awards Luncheon takes place Sunday, August 30th at 12 at the Novotel North York in Toronto. Submit your work, apply to attend, or grab your tickets today. Find out more at independentpressgallery.com, because independent journalism deserves its own stage.
All right, looks like I'll be solo wrapping up the live stream. We lost Drea there. Thanks everybody for always dealing with us when we are, as mentioned, painfully live sometimes. The last few stories I just want to touch on come out of Toronto. And this one here is Toronto Police Chief Myram Demkew talking about the Walk for Israel. So the Walk for Israel will be on Sunday in Toronto. And we have this clip of the police chief saying that anybody committing a criminal offense can expect to be arrested and can expect to be arrested swiftly, and that the Toronto police finally apparently have the resources in place to do this. It's only taken them like a handful of years to properly address what is happening on the streets of Toronto with the anti-Semitic slogans, the chants for genocide. I imagine that there will be no shortage, sadly, once again, for this on Sunday during the Walk for Israel. So sounds like the chief's trying to save face and perhaps, you know, puff up his chest a little bit, show some of his colorful feathers that he will be on top of this. But I guess we'll really see how things play out on Sunday. We will have a team of rebels deployed there. So make sure that you keep an eye out for them if you're planning to attend. And let's hear what Chief Demkew has to say about it ahead of Sunday.
It is a very important day for us Sunday. You're going to see a very substantial police presence, a police response. We've been planning, working with the organizers, planning for Sunday for quite some time. And there'll be a very robust security plan in place. We'll be doing media about it later today with the Deputy Chief Barreto doing a news conference. But you're going to expect to see a lot of police presence. You'll see our equipment, our tactical teams out, and we'll be making sure we secure the walk.
What are the sort of standing orders then? I mean, if somebody says a certain thing or holds up a certain sign, that person is going to be interdicted?
Well, I think it'll depend on the circumstances we face. Anybody committing a criminal offense can expect to be arrested and can expect to be arrested swiftly. We will have the resources in place. We will have the equipment in place, the people in place to effect our purpose, to ensure the walk is safe. And anybody who comes there to disrupt it through criminal behavior will be held accountable for the criminal behavior.
And you
Well,
and I've talked
we can
about
probably
this
end there. It's
before,
about
but I want to
time.
ask you again.
I would say it's about time because the Toronto police became infamous, I would say, for bringing the Palestinian protesters double doubles and coffee. I guess what was that, 2 years ago? And sort of catering to their continued harassment of the Jewish community in the Bathurst and Shepherd area in Toronto as they protest through their residential city streets. And the whole thing is a mess. So I guess we'll see if anything changes on Sunday, if any of it gets any better. And then moving along, we have this other piece from similar Chief Myram Dumke, where they are planning for the FIFA World Cup 2026. So Toronto is the host. It's just days away. And the original tweet comes from the Toronto police themselves. So they say that their officers are ready to keep Toronto safe. Just only ahead of FIFA are they ready for that. This will be the longest and largest deployment of officers in TPS history. And we're excited to welcome the world to our wonderful city. And then Myram Demke retweeted or reposted that. And he said that part of the planning professionalism and dedication of our teams are showing as we gear up for FIFA World Cup 2026, from large-scale crowd management to public safety readiness. And keeping the city moving, we're focused on delivering a safe, welcoming experience for everyone who will be part of this historic moment for our city. So I guess they've been clearing out the vagrants and the various other displays of public safety concerns that Torontonians have been dealing with for the better part of, the slow decay of Toronto has been happening for at least a decade, but especially heightened under the likes of previous Mayor John Tory and now Olivia Chow, where degeneracy, decay, open air drug use, crime, chaos, violence, all of this stuff is on the rise in Toronto. And I think public safety and community safety has never been a bigger concern for people living in Toronto specifically, but also, the GTA. So I guess the police are making sure that visual, that visual of the city is kept in check, at least during FIFA, and then it'll be back to probably business as usual immediately thereafter. So we'll see what happens, but I don't have high expectations despite the pre-planning talking points of Chief Demke. So I guess just in closing, we have this daily delight here where a Brantford city councillor, so Brantford is just on the other side, it's just west of Toronto. So it's a fairly smallish city, I would say. So one of their city councillors came out, Greg Martin, and said that he will not be performing land acknowledgements because they're just virtue signaling. Let's have a listen.
Any questions? Member Martin?
More a comment. I don't believe in land acknowledgement. I think it's virtue signaling. I don't think it really means much of anything. And there's no reciprocal acknowledgement. Like, what about my treaty rights? They do nothing to acknowledge that some of the land was sold, some of the land was traded for services. They just say everything's under claim. So it has to be a two-way street, and I don't see that that's happening right now. So I don't believe in doing land acknowledgements, and I won't be supporting this.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments?
Madam Chair, Rose, do we need the okay?
Oh, I was waiting for them to say, oh, do we need to take that off of the official record? Because I guess that will be in the official record now of their meeting notes and their council happenings. I'd be interested to know what kind of backlash that councillor is going to face as a result of just saying, I don't agree with this and I will not be participating or, acknowledging anything about this land being unceded or otherwise. I think this actually happened at least at least a few days ago, perhaps even a week. So I haven't heard that there's been any sort of backlash or repercussions for him. But I suppose we will see. I think more and more you're starting to see that Canadians are just done with this nonsense. They're going, well, this isn't actually accurate. As my reporting showed from the Ontario Landowners Association, they have a couple of their chapter leaders who have done really good digs into the treaties, what they say, what they cover, when they were established, who gave up what, and what exactly happened during that time. And yeah, a lot of it was traded, especially also traded for protection or traded for other goods, services, etc. And so the treaties, I mean, anyone can go and find them. You can go and dig up the treaties on the Canadian government website, and those should be upheld, not just one side of the treaty. And so I commend Greg Martin for standing up and sticking up for the law and what is fair and just. So with that, we'll just end a few minutes early. I think we got through all of our super chats, unless we want to talk about this little fun thing. Okay, we have a few minutes. Let's just we'll chat about this funny little thing. I don't know if this is a video or it's just a picture. But also happening in Toronto in the next week, so running up alongside FIFA, I guess, there will be hundreds of naked cyclists set to ride in Toronto. I'm not familiar with this event, probably because I'm not much of a nudist, but yeah, there you have more things that are typically illegal in public, like public nudity, public indecency. These things are typically a criminal offense. But for June, if you have a cyclist biking nude, if you have a bunch of men on the street with their parts out, wagging them along and waving them in front of children because of diversity, inclusion, and equity, well, that's okay for the month of June. So I guess June, anything goes. It's a free pass. You can smoke crack in the park. You can hang out with your wang out. It's all good in Toronto, but they're going to crack down on anti-Semitism for this Sunday, and they're going to clear out the vagrants for FIFA World Cup because priorities. That's what's happening in Toronto. Actually, I don't know if it's been mentioned on previous streams, but I would love to end off on a really funny video that I found also from Integrity TO. I think it's Daniel Tate. He is doing such great and hilarious work in Toronto City Chambers at City Hall. And I don't know if I can find it quickly, but he had, yes, here it is. So the Toronto Transit Commission, oh, I can't even get through this without laughing, has been looking for ways to decolonize wayfinding. So they want to decolonize how people orient themselves. And honestly, you wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it. So I have to share with you this compilation that Daniel Tate from Integrity TO has put together of a recent city council meeting from June the 3rd. Look at this.
Why are we talking about decolonizing wayfinding? Like, what does that even mean? Indigenous placemaking as wayfinding. What we'll do, we'll have each major exit be assigned a unique animal icon used consistently across signs, wall markings, and architectural elements. I think this idea is silly and is not logical. We're going to decolonize how people orient themselves. Once you exit the subway vehicle at Queen Station, so you can see, you would see two signs. First of all, going to the left, you would see the turtle, bear, and wolf exit.
Can we not combine a alphanumeric with a pictorial signs?
Well, first of all, thank you for this presentation. It's great.
No transit system in the world adopts animal pictures for wayfinding.
And the exterior of the wolf exit on Yonge Street.
To combine animals into that, we just would have to figure out how that would work.
Indigenous knowledge should be infrastructure, not ornamentation.
Does that mean we're going to have hourly land acknowledgements on the PA system? So we're looking for some clarity here.
And then nearby the art, you can have a little decal that explains exactly what you're looking at.
It's an interesting idea.
Some people are good at numbers, some people like words, some people like pictures.
Nobody does animal pictures for wayfinding. Why? Because there's already a great global standard. It's called alphanumeric.
The exterior of the bison exit.
the interior of the beaver exit, next slide, and the exterior of the beaver exit.
We have stations that don't even have working escalators or elevators. We have stations that don't have bathrooms. We don't need to decolonize the TTC.
So I think there's definitely potential here to see how we can incorporate more Indigenous knowledge.
We have much, much bigger problems here at the TTC than to put pictures of turtles, bisons, elephants, beavers, and whatever other genuses or species that may be a part of Cameron Stewart's school project.
All of these animals are from this land, are Canadian, are local. So to posit that there's somebody somehow that these knowledges and these ideas are other, I think is just really un-Canadian.
So we would be replacing the letter or number with an animal?
You know, if you're going to TIFF, you go to King Station, you need to take the exit bear. Some people will say bear, some people will say one.
So I think
I don't see any downside.
No, this was not a school project. This was a project in the fellowship.
Project.
Yeah, we're not disparaging.
I'm not disparaging. I'm just saying
that was disrespectful. So keep it on the presentation.
Your fellowship project.
Not the individual.
I stand corrected. Your fellowship project.
I thought this was such a great presentation, and we loved it in our office.
I had a couple Microsoft Teams meetings with TTC representatives in the diversity department, and now we're walking towards the Eaton Center. So walking along with you on the wall, you also have the turtle, bear, and the wolf.
And my suggestion is that we not listen to whatever the diversity department says, and let's focus on delivering a high-quality, reliable, safe transit system.
With little explainers about, you can have the local artwork either in these decals, or you can have explainers about what the artwork means.
We can think more expansively about how the human learning, the adult brain.
Every TTC station rests on Indigenous land, using the 7 grandfather animals together.
It's something that we actually are committed to doing in our Truth and Reconciliation Action Plan.
Adding silly, confusing animal pictures is not going to help people, and it's just going to make our system look less world-class than it already is. And frankly, it's going to add more rider confusion, and it's going to look odd.
Yeah, all the people coming to Toronto for the World Cup, do you think they're going to know where they're going if they're coming out of the Beaver exit? I mean, I just want to know which way's north. This is absolutely crazy. I didn't even realize that the TTC has a diversity department. So Toronto, if you're wondering why your taxes are up like 21% over the last 5 years, well, you have an entire department as part of the TTC, which is taxpayer funded, that comes up with this. This is what you're getting, where your hard-earned tax dollars are going. It is absolutely crazy. Thanks to Integrity TO for their work exposing all of this nonsense and what's actually happening at Toronto City Hall. I'm going to wrap up the stream now because I think we are done with any super chats. We're all good. All right. Well, anyone who's heading out to the Walk for Israel on Sunday, be safe out there. Have a great time. Thanks, everybody, for joining the stream. Thanks to Drea and Tamara Lich for being part of it as well. Unfortunately, we had to say bye to them. Thanks, everybody who makes sure that this stream's even possible, that you can find the links, that everything flows smoothly, even when it's, as mentioned, painfully live. And we'll be back again on Monday, same time and place from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. Have a great weekend, everybody. And until that time, stay sane and question everything.
Big news, Rebel News now has premium memberships on X, Locals, and right here on YouTube. For just $4.99 a month on YouTube, you'll get loyalty badges, custom emojis, and access to members-only chats during our live streams. At $8.99 a month, you'll also unlock Rebel News Plus shows and our documentaries. But here's the catch. YouTube could cancel that premium tier at any time. That's why the best way to support us is at rebelnewsplus.com. It's just $8 a month, cheaper if you go annual, and you'll get exclusive extras like an ad-free site, comments access, and even the chance to submit op-eds. Wherever you join us, thanks for keeping our independent journalism alive and strong.